behemoths, towering titans traversing the folklore of numerous civilizations, and in a myriad of guises within Norse legend. The Jotnar are often depicted with a similar, sweeping stroke, viewed as gargantuan adversaries locked in strife with both deities and mortals. Yet, were they truly giants? And were they indeed the monstrous beings portrayed in cinematic depictions of the Norse cosmos? The Jotnar command, both terror and awe-inspiring, far from mere British giants. These beings are integral to Norse mythology, spanning from the genesis of the worlds to the devastation of Ragnarok. Today, we delve into the ancient Norse realm to reveal the true essence of the Jotnar, exploring their origins and roles within mythological narratives. And ultimately, we address the query, were the Jotnar truly giants? Or is there more to their saga? Welcome to the enigmas of mythology. The Jotnar, ensnared between the frost of Niflheim and the flames of Muspelheim, amidst the vast void, here from primordial chaos emerged. The first Jotun emerged from a solitary birth. The Jotun who epitomized the untamed, chaotic forces of nature. The term Jotun, or the singular Jotun, originates from the Proto-Germanic asterisk echinas, akin to the notion of devouring or consuming, akin to the raw forces of nature. These beings, in their corporeal form in the original Eddas, the primary sources of our knowledge about Norse mythology. Jotnar could be giants and akin in stature to the Aesir and Vanir deities, such as Odin or Thor, which isn't 100% certain, but we'll delve into that later. They would be perceived more as a distinct lineage, rather than a separate species from the gods over time. The portrayal of Jotnar evolved, with the English term giant becoming the dominant descriptor, are for the foes of gods in other mythologies, such as Greek mythology, initially revered, perhaps even feared for their direct link to the earth's most primal elements. They later were reduced to enemies of the Norse gods, and thus inherited the moniker of giants. Ymir was the first being in Norse creation. He was born from the void and boundless chasm known as the Ginnunga Gap, making the Jotnar the first beings in Norse mythology. A giant father, a six-headed son called Thrudgelmir, who was nourished by the cosmic cow, called Odhumla, who fed herself by licking the icy rime from the salty rocks. And from those rocks she revealed Buri, the first primordial god and grandfather of the Aesir. But how did Buri get into the salty ice rocks in the first place? The rock that encased Buri came from the icy plains of Niflheim. The Jotnar lineage originated from the ice of Niflheim and the fires of Muspelheim, while gods emerged solely from Niflheim. But matters become a bit more complex as Buri, once freed from the icy encasements, then father bore married Bestla, the daughter of the Jotun Bolthorn, and together they became the progenitors of the first Aesir gods, Odin, Vili, and Ve. As the generations unfolded, the tension between the primal forces of the giants and the burgeoning order of the Aesir gods was slammed by Odin and his brothers to impose order from chaos. Ymir's existence symbolized the chaotic and untamed nature of the universe. When Odin and his brothers slew Ymir, they employed his corpse to forge the world, his flesh into land, his blood into oceans, his bones into mountains, and his skull into the sky. Destruction led to creation, as from his wounds gushed such a vast torrent of blood that it caused a great flood, nearly obliterating all the Jotnar. Only Jotun couple Bergelmir and his wife, using a chest, survived the deluge by escaping. They landed on the mountain of Jotunheim, which thereafter became the sanctuary and fortress for the remaining Jotnar. This marked the inception of the schism between gods and Jotnar. Those who sided with Odin and his brothers constructed Asgard, their new abode, and those who dissented with the brothers established Jotunheim as their Jotun home. The Jotnar's dwelling was reputed as a harsh, icy realm, and while many envisioned Jotnar as frost giants, they were, in fact, highly diverse. Some were giants, but not all, and they possessed the ability to alter form. The Jotnar were particularly adept at transformation, with the most renowned among them being Loki, who frequently changed into various individuals, creatures, or objects. They were also skilled at casting illusions, as in the tale of the wily Loki, who conjured a series of illusions to evade being slain by Thor. Modern depictions often reduce Jotnar to monstrous figures, overlooking exceptions, like the fair-skinned and beautiful Skadi. So this raises the question, what truly set them apart if the Jotnar had a similar appearance, strength, and powers, similar to the gods? Why wouldn't they be considered gods? One argument posits that only the gods were worshipped by humans, but that wasn't always the case. We know that the Vikings venerated Skadi, a Jotun giantess, seeking her blessings for hunting, skiing, and snow. So that wasn't what distinguished them. The critical differentiation between God and Jotun was what they symbolized: chaos. The first Jotun, Mimir, was born from the chaos of the fires of Muspelheim and the ice of Niflheim. Everything the Jotnar did was an attempt to return the world to chaos, not to annihilate it, but so that it could be reborn. Ragnarok is the ultimate epic battle between the gods and the Jotnar. However, it doesn't signify the end of the world. It is a catastrophic event that precipitates the rebirth of the world and a more tranquil future. It's this association with chaos that designates anything beyond the kingdom and protection of Asgard as Jotunheim, outside the fence. This delineates the difference between the order of the world of the gods and the wilderness and chaos beyond the fence. But some of the most renowned Jotnar might surprise you. As we saw earlier, Odin, the Old Father, as he was sometimes called, had a Jotun mother. So if we assume that his father was 100% god, that would mean that Odin was at least 50% Jotun. This is significant because Odin was known to have many children from various mothers, and thus all his offspring were part Jotun, most famously being our red-bearded, ale-swilling hero Thor. His mother was a Jotun woman, which would mean that Thor was actually 75% Jotun. So ironically, the most famous gods in Norse mythology and the most vigorous combatants against the Jotnar were at least half Jotun themselves. Marriages between gods and Jotnar were not just rare events. They were quite common and had a profound impact on Norse mythology. For instance, Freyr, a god associated with peace and fertility, fell in love with Geir, a giantess. There was also the marriage of Sif, the wife of Thor, to Njord, a god of the sea, a union that stemmed from the god's desire to appease the Jotnar for her father's death. A gesture. Geir and his wife Ran were two Jotnar who resided in a majestic hall beneath the ocean and would frequently host grand feasts for the gods. Finally, there was Loki, whom KS to Marvel, many now see as Thor's brother, but was actually Odin's brother. Loki formed a blood bond with Odin, allowing him to walk among the Aesir in Asgard, and often appeared in tales with Thor and others from Freya's union. With Idun's marriage to Njord, these divine alliances illustrate the dance between chaos and order, creation and destruction that defines the Norse cosmos. The Jotnar were often seen as the adversaries of the Aesir gods, continually attempting to invade Asgard, defeat the gods, or take the goddesses as their wives. For instance, Jormungandr, the world serpent and child of Loki, was fated to kill Thor during Ragnarok. Another child of Loki is prophesied to cause great destruction, including the breaking of Bifrost, a crucial cosmic structure. The king of the frost giants famously steals Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, to force the gods into giving him Freya as his bride. Thor, disguised as Freya, attends the wedding with Loki, who is dressed as his bridesmaid, and once he has Mjolnir back in his possession, he slays all the giants at the feast in retribution. The Jotuna emerge as formidable adversaries, launching their assault against Asgard, led by Loki aboard, the ship of the dead. They were joined by the fiery giants of Muspelheim, the Jotnar of Muspelheim, wreaking havoc upon Asgard and contributing to the cataclysmic unraveling of the cosmos. In the aftermath of this event, you might hastily conclude that the Jotnar were unequivocally viewed as malevolent entities by the Norse people. However, this oversimplification conceals a more profound truth. While the Jotnar did evoke fear and often found themselves cast as antagonists in the sagas of the Aesir, their role in Norse mythology was far from one-dimensional villains. They were Essen, tied to mythology, maintaining the cosmic balance. Central to this balance was the cyclical nature of Ragnarok, where the Jotnar played a pivotal role despite their seeming opposition to the order upheld by the gods. Their involvement in the apocalyptic event was necessary for the continuation of existence. Ragnarok signifies not just an end, but a renewal, a destruction that paves the way for creation in this eternal cycle. The Jotnar serve as catalysts for rebirth. Birth follows the twilight of the gods, while their depiction in myth and modern culture often leans towards negativity. It's imperative to recognize the symbiotic relationship between chaos and order, destruction and creation embodied by these enigmatic beings. Personally, I find the Jotnar more fascinating than the Aesir. Originating from the same cosmic sources, they're often depicted as antagonists rather than mere giants. The Jotnar represent the untamed, natural, and chaotic forces, though they are marginalized by the gods. Their complex nature is rich, esoteric, that of the gods. So whether the Jotnar are villains or misunderstood agents of change, what do you think? Let me know in the comments.